Hey guys, this is the hints video for 6.3 on your own problem set. So we're gonna talk through some hints or ways to get started. So we're completing each table, so each row has a sequence, a formula in formal notation, and the sequence type. And let's just remind ourselves that arithmetic, that's adding or subtracting. Geometric, that's multiplying or dividing. Oops. And then if it's something else, you're doing both of those things, you're squaring or cubing or square rooting, then it would be neither. Okay, so let's look at our first sequence. We're given the formula, and we need to fill in the sequence and the type. So the formula always gives us the first term for free, so we know that our sequence starts at 36. So we can say the first term in our sequence is 36. Then we need to know how do we fill in the rest of the sequence, and that's where our rule comes in. So remember that this guy, u sub n plus 1, that's our symbol for next, and u sub n, that's our symbol for now. So this is saying the next is 2 times the now minus 10. So wherever I'm at in the sequence, I multiply it by 2, and then I subtract 10 to get the next term. So over here with 36, to get the next term, I would multiply 36 by 2 and then subtract 10. And then I would keep doing that and keep doing that. Okay, so hopefully that gets you started on the first one. Let's look at number 2. For number 2, we're given the sequence and we need our formula and type. So first thing, I would set up your formula. You know it needs 2 parts, right? We need our first term, u sub 1, and we need our rule for the next term. So a little formula that says u sub n plus 1 equals something. Okay, our first term we always get for free, so there's our first term. That's going to be u sub 1. And then for u sub n plus 1, we should ask ourselves, how do you get the next term? What do you do? So to go from 1296 to 216, what do you do? 216 to 36, what do you do? 36 to 6, what do you do? 6 to 1, what do you do? So look for the pattern. You might see it a little bit easier in these guys. Once you have that pattern, I would always recommend if you're struggling with the rule, to say it in now next form. Say next equals something. And then you can translate it into the symbols. Okay, so that's it for number 2. Number 3, this time we have a formula again, so we know, hopefully by now, we can start with our first term. So we know our sequence starts at 4, and then we want to know how do we fill in the rest of the sequence. So we're going to look at our rule, and this is saying to get the next, we're going to square then divide by 2. Square then divide by 2. So, because this symbol is the next, it's the now squared divided by 2. So from 4 to the next, I'm going to take 4, I'm going to square it, and then I'm going to divide it by 2. And that's going to give me a number for here. And then to get the next number, I'm going to do the same thing again, but with whatever this number is. I'm going to square this number and then divide it by 2, and that will give me this number. Then I would square this and divide it by 2 to get over here, and so on. Okay, for the last 2, you're making up your own sequences and formulas. And if you're struggling to get stuck, especially with this neither one, I would recommend starting with the formula. So make up your formula and then use what you know about the formulas to write the sequence that goes with it. And to write your formula, you can just pick your first term. It can be anything you want, and then write your rule. And again, it can be anything you want as long as it's not only multiplying or only adding, subtracting. So you can mix them, you could get some other operation in there, but it can really be whatever you want. And again, if you need to write it in now next form first, that's totally fine. I think that's a great bridge to the symbols. And then once you have your rule and your first term, you can use that to write out the sequence. Okay, finally for the arithmetic sequence that you need to come up with, go back to what arithmetic means. And this one, you can start with the formula, you can start with the sequence. Arithmetic aren't that hard, but in general, pick your first term, and then pick your common difference. And once you've chosen those two numbers, it will be easy to write out your sequence and your formula. Okay, I hope this helped you guys get started on 6.3 on your own. Let me know what questions come up and be sure to fill out the Google form.